I just thought we'd try out something new.
Oh, yeah. Almost fell asleep there.
Yeah, you know, I thought we'd this time reel in our audience with a sense of relaxation and then slowly whittle away at that as they realize how terrible the world is. Welcome everybody to the newest episode of the Zero Budget Podcast. This is episode, what, 17? 17! I don't know why that's a big number, but hey.
That's a big number.
The big number.
It's almost legal.
Oh my God. Anyways, moving right past that. Where am I going with this? I'm your host, Juptej Singh. With me, as always, not really always, but as sometimes, is my smart, suave co-host, Matthew Hanks. Say hello to the people.
Hello, the people. I am the smart, suave Matthew Hanks.
You are indeed. Everyone knows how we start these things off. And by everyone, I mean the three people that are watching. We always ask the same question. Matthew Hanks, how was your week?
It's been interesting. School, you know. It's cool. But I applied to many internships, and I shall keep applying to many internships. I have not heard back from any of them, but it's only been, a week. So
are you applying to the government?
For legal reasons, I cannot classify that. I cannot declassify that. But yes, I am applying to many of intelligence. By many, I mean like 3 of them, but still.
Dude, are you going to be part of the CIA? Am I going to have to cancel the podcast?
I refuse to work for the CIA.
Yeah, I can never do a podcast with someone on the CIA.
I'll just work for the DIA. It's like the same thing.
If you did work for the CIA, you would tell me, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would, tell me things?
If you want to die.
Would you, if you worked for the CIA, would you be like...
I mean, you would probably get, Edward Snowden.
This is the next black community that they're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
Dude, I would be such a good Edward Snowden.
But then I'd probably die or disappear.
A red dot just appears on both of our foreheads.
Hey.
I would be a dope Edward Snowden, I think. Because I think both of us have we have the personality that Edward Snowden doesn't.
Yeah, Edward Snowden's kind of a prick.
Yeah, and he just seems like a traitor. Which, I guess technically he is, but, we should be... I feel like the general public should be like, hey, Edward Snowden, cool dude.
Yeah.
If not for his personality, then at least for uncovering government secrets.
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like both of us, I mean, we wouldn't just, release a bunch of documents. We'd come on the podcast.
Yeah. And, we do it through a low-key podcast.
We'd come on the podcast. We'd talk our shit. and be like,
They'd be
"Hey,
like,
if
"What are you gonna do? I'm in Russia now."
ooh, government
Ooh.
no likey me exposing secrets, big U.S. government going assassinate me."
Nah, I'm in bunker. Find me, bitch.
People have interviewed Edward Snowden, right?
Yeah.
How do they do that without like dying?
Uh, they make it public.
Are you allowed to like meet Edward's like? I mean, I'm sure you're allowed to meet Edward
You
Snowden,
definitely are.
but he's not allowed within the confines of the U.S., right?
Definitely not. Well, I mean, he can come here. He'll just get arrested like immediately.
So why don't they? I was gonna say why don't they just arrest him in Russia, but I'm sure that
No, that's not how that works.
yeah, that's not gonna be how that works. Anyways, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Oh, we already did the whole welcome thing. We were in how
Yeah.
our week.
Welcome again.
How was my week? Thank you for
Oh, how
asking.
was your week, Juptej?
I started college this week.
Big boy.
Big boy. College is pretty fun. I really like it. My classes are super interesting. Math is, math, and English is English, but
That's what they all say. That's what they all say about their first
the
week.
fuck does, oh, okay. No, like my classes are super interesting. Theater is super fun. We had like a 30-minute discussion that felt like 2 hours in a good way. Where we talked about like the validity of theater and like whether or not it can like survive and like what counts as theater and stuff like that. It was like super interesting. All my professors are very, very nice, and I'm already in good with my math professor because I told her to have a good weekend, and she's a very sweet old lady, so she loved that. But yeah, college is pretty fun. Last week we filmed the episode with Shishki Productions. That was a very good time. Go check out that one if you haven't already. Very nice guest. He was like super. He was such a nice guy. Honestly, have you seen the episode yet, Matt?
I only watched a little bit.
He was just talking to him, trying to get him on. Just very accommodating, very open, and very like excited, which was dope. Like I'm super nervous every time we have on a guest, and like you could probably see that because like I'm not so hot at interviewing, but he was like, dude, I did a radio show, don't worry about it, we can just talk. And it was he just went off the cuff. It was dope. Very good episode.
Yes.
Yeah, my week was all right.
Sounds pretty good.
My week was all right.
Do you know whose weeks haven't been all right?
Whose weeks haven't been all right, Matthew?
The people at Virginia Tech and JMU.
Why haven't their
And
weeks been all right?
So COVID is a thing still. Shocking, I know. Now
But
I know
Matt,
this
I don't
pertains-
want it to be a thing.
Oh well.
I don't like it. COVID is
Fuck.
canceled.
Oh, we got shit. Never mind. I'll retract the story then. I know this is a very state-oriented like story that we're bringing up because it's really only relevant to people who reside in Virginia. But this is also our only 3 listeners, so you know. So JMU closed down earlier this week because they reached more than 500 active cases on campus. So they decided to shut down before even a week of school went by. Their 7-day moving average for positive test rates is at 47.7%. So you know that's quite high.
It is.
They were the first school really in Virginia, to my knowledge, that shut down after trying to reopen, and also have the most COVID cases. But in a good second place is good old Virginia Tech. They have reported a 20% positive testing rate with 416 positive tests. Right now, to my knowledge, they have not planned on shutting down just yet. Other places, such as VCU, I think are nearing 200.
Yeah, VCU's getting up there.
Yes. Same with Radford. Radford was apparently that whole town in Radford actually was put on one of the top 10 like hotspot lists.
Really?
By like the New York Times.
There's like no one there.
Yeah, but I guess it's just because like I think that's the reason, because there's so many COVID cases. It's not many people there. It's just like I guess the COVID per capita is quite high, and since it's a party school as well.
See, I would have thought it was the exact opposite because have you been to Radford?
No.
Okay,
I
so
mean, I know
Radford
people.
is this like because I went for gov school, right? So
Mhm.
it's this like tiny ass town that has like maybe like a population of 15, and there's nothing there outside of the campus pretty much. I mean, obviously there's a couple things around, but like the actual town of Radford, not much. Um, so I would assume like if they tested people before they got there and they kept a pretty tight ship in terms of letting people in and out of campus, it would be all right. But you're telling me the entire town is like a hotspot now?
That's what I've heard. I can double check that real quick, but yeah, it's bad.
Damn.
uh,
It's almost as if pandemics have consequences.
yeah,
Yeah.
shockingly. Yeah, this is a little bit of an older article. This came out uh, August 28th, but it's been updated.
Mm-hmm.
At on August 28th, apparently the COVID cases went up 350% in just 2 weeks.
Holy shit.
So I think that's why it was deemed a hotspot.
Yeah, probably.
um, right now they're currently rocking, yeah, a little over 300, I think, maybe more.
Oh my god.
So at least in the town. Uh, in good news, my college, George Mason, we only have 12 cases, so we're pretty.
Flex.
Just not the
Flex.
flex, but which is shocking because we're in like the most populated part of
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, Fairfax County has 1 million people living in it,
Yeah.
so you think there'd be more COVID cases, but I guess we're just a different breed.
Y'all built different.
We're just built different. We
Uh,
respect people and wear a mask.
It's because you're liberal lefties.
That's not even apparently.
You're
That's
communist.
not even true.
You're communist Antifa.
We tend to lean more moderate / conservative on some things.
All I hear is cultural Marxism.
We're funded by the Koch brothers.
You're funded by George Soros.
Damn, I wish.
As if George Soros and the Koch brothers have any vested interest in propping up leftism.
Yeah. I mean, the Koch brothers, to my knowledge, fund more the economics department here, but that's besides the point.
Aren't they boys with like Dennis Prager and like Dave Rubin? Am I tripping about the Dave Rubin thing?
Maybe about the Dave Rubin, but the Prager.
I'm pretty
would not
sure
shock me.
I'm pretty sure they're boys with Dennis Prager. I'm gonna look up Koch brothers and Dennis Prager just to right wing PragerU triples revenue in 2 years. Dennis Prager also founded blah 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 of the Koch political network. Yeah,
Interesting. That makes sense.
yeah.
I thought that was a story to. It definitely woke up some college students. Let's just say the least. I now know 2 people personally that have gotten COVID.
Yeah, wow.
So
Yeah, it sucks.
I mean, one of them recovered and she's fine.
How has college been for you with all this COVID stuff?
Honestly, it's not much different than like when it first happened. Really, now I'm just in my.
I mean, how is it comparatively to before COVID?
Especially, I mean, I know I got the aught. So sometimes it can be a bit hard to focus, especially when I'm just staring at a computer screen.
Yeah.
And I mean, so far I've been able to turn my work in on time, and I've done well on all my work. I have 100 in all my classes. It's a lot of menial.
Look at you.
I mean, it's a lot of menial work, so it's not really anything to flex on too much right now.
Yeah.
But I could definitely tell it's definitely more difficult with people who have attention disorders or learning disorders, because the online learning sucks for everyone, though. So
yeah. Like for theater, I mean, we've only done like introductions and stuff, which fucking suck.
Yeah.
But I made sure to shout out, the podcast in my introductions.
yes.
Yeah, had to. But it's just so much harder to connect with people or to actually like do anything like breakout rooms.
Oh, suck.
are the worst fucking thing on the
They're
planet.
so awkward.
It's dude, I was in one the other day and I joined, we joined the breakout room and we were all silent for a minute. A whole minute. We all had our cameras on. Or no, it was me and like two other people that had our cameras on. Just staring and saying nothing. And then someone said, "What's up?" And then we were like, "Hey, so how are we supposed to do this work? How are we supposed to do this project?" And like someone said one sentence about how to do it, and then we stayed silent again. They're awful. You can't do anything. Can't get anything done.
Our robot's here, so I'm gonna quickly grab
your
my
robot's
dinner.
here. Your food robot.
Yeah. My food
While you're
robot.
gone,
Yes.
let me find a topic to fill them in on. I'm gonna continue my ramblings on capitalism. That'll be my thing. Every time Matt leaves, I talk about communism. Capitalism, not communism. Actually, when it comes to communism, I honestly don't know much about it. Right now, I am sort of learning a little bit more about socialism. I think it's pretty cool. I think socialism's pretty dope. Just in the sense of like the workers owning the means of production. I think that makes sense. I From what I know about communism, I think it would be such a huge shift, and I don't know if there's any way that we could make that shift in the immediate future, without it ending up like a USSR, or like a CCP. But again, I don't know too much about them. We're early leftists here at the Zero Budget Podcast, so don't know much about USSR, don't know much about CCP, but I would imagine any effort to revolutionize just America into communism would fail. And I think it would need to be a worldwide revolution because capitalism is so ingrained in world government and in the way that the world functions. But I think at the very least, like a democratic socialism is something that is arguable, something that you can advocate for in the immediacy, without requiring such a higher revolution. But I mean, at least you could, but who knows where we're heading. You know, I think revolution generally isn't something that should be fetishized or fantasized about because it's revolution's fucking rough shit. You know, revolution is never just ha ha ha, me and my lefties are going to overthrow the bourgeois and all this shit. Revolution's fucking rough. And especially now when the Overton window, or at least the optics game, is not in our favor, a revolution right now would be fascist. I feel like it would be a fascist revolution. The Nazis would win, in America at least. So where am I going with this? Basically, me and Matt don't know much. Matt definitely knows more than me, but I don't know much about capitalism, communism, socialism. I'm learning more. I'm reading more. But I don't think capitalism works to benefit the average person. And I know that that's a fucking hot take there. Fucking cold as ice. But I don't know why we keep working to uphold it. So even Yang, right? I used to be a Yang Gang guy. And the more I kind of thought about his positions, the more I sort of realized that Yang wasn't really advocating for anything that was super revolutionary or out there, but in fact he was just advocating for sort of New Deal type shit, which is just, hey, let's just uphold the system that we have now. Let's delay the inevitable massive civil unrest that's definitely going to come. I mean, climate change is around the corner. Evictions are happening. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Rich are getting richer. Poor are getting poorer. You know, it sucks. So, like, why delay that? Why not work to change the system that we're a part of? Matthew, are you back?
No.
Welcome back, Matt. That was
Thank you.
a very long tangent. Where were we?
Do you know
COVID?
what's also?
What's
No.
up? What are you
Do you know
talking
what's?
about?
Do you know what's also really been long?
What's up?
These protests.
No,
you know?
let's keep talking about COVID because we have to talk
Oh,
about
never-
the COVID data,
Oh yeah, shoot.
the CDC shit, and then we have to talk about why conservatives are dumb. As always, reactionaries, stupid people. Do you want to talk about that, Matt? Matt,
The
do you wanna
CDC.
talk about that? Are you
The
eating?
CDC. Maybe.
It's okay. I can set it up.
Oh,
The CDC
you're really funny.
was they recently put out a study saying that 6%, or they put out the stats, 6% of all COVID deaths were only from COVID, whereas 94% of them had some sort of comorbidity. They had a link to another disease. A lot of times pneumonia, influenza, or a pre-existing condition. So conservatives, as they do, took this to basically say, hey, people dying, who cares? Am I right? COVID, not that big of a deal. Only 6% actually die from COVID. So the other 94% have to be like, you know, they just got fucking blown to smithereens, but then the doctors found that one of the little shreds of their flesh had a little bit of COVID sprinkled on it, so they put that as a COVID comorbidity. Which, unfortunately for conservatives, I'm very sorry to break it to you, that's not how anything works at all. A comorbidity is essentially saying that both of these things worked in tandem to kill someone. They contributed significantly to the causes of death, enough to say if these causes of death weren't there, if these things weren't there, they probably would have still been alive. So the example that we were kind of talking about earlier was something like 9/11, right? You could say, hey, nobody actually died from the plane. They died from smoke inhalation or falling off the building or burning, which technically, but I think it's also fair to say that the plane was a significant factor. You know?
Well, that'd be if the planes were real, which they aren't.
Oh,
actually.
gotcha. Or like a car crash, right? Hey, they didn't actually die from the car crash. They died from bleeding out. Stupid. Or I think the best sort of analogy is AIDS, right? Nobody really technically dies from AIDS. They get AIDS. It completely blows their immune system up. And then they get like the flu. And that's what kills them. But you can't say that they didn't die from AIDS. You're not like, oh, AIDS is a fucking hoax, which they did try to do when AIDS was a big problem. But you can't do that because it doesn't make any fucking sense. So in the same vein, you have COVID, which fucks up your immune system. It completely shits on your immune system. Fucks up your lungs, fucks up your body. And then you get the flu, or then you get pneumonia. You can die from both. If I'm not tripping, we looked at the data earlier. They mark it as both a COVID death and a pneumonia death because you technically died from both. So
Yeah.
You know, things
Yeah,
are things are things are
I
looking
remember when
up.
the news broke about it. I kind of looked at it and I was just like, why? I thought people kind of already knew this, at least. I thought it was quite already known that like COVID usually kills you in a different way than actual COVID. I don't know, but yeah, I first saw it on Twitter and everyone was freaking out about it, and I was like, bro, fucking take a second to read it, and then you'll understand. And then people are dumb. That's my antithesis. People are dumb,
Yeah,
and they don't like to read things that take more than a few seconds.
yeah. It's fucking crazy. Like they're using. Also, fuck. If this was a big fucking conspiracy by the CDC or whatever, why would they say that? Why would they be like, hey, 94% of the deaths? Not from COVID. And what is this fucking cherry picking of like, I'm going to trust the CDC now?
Yeah. Oh, now we trust the CDC.
It's the same sort of thing that they say with the cops, right? Because as we also know, American conservatives known for projection. What they do is with the police, right? They'll be like, "Who are you gonna call when you get your house robbed?" It's like, yeah, the cops. Like that's not like a hard thing for me to say. I'm not like giving anything up there. But then you talk about the CDC and they're like, "Oh, the CDC is a fucking hoax. The CDC is out to get President Trump." And then they put out a stat saying 94% of deaths aren't actually from COVID. And then they're like, "Hey, look, the CDC said it." It's like, please pick one. Please pick a
Just
lane. Make it easier for me to make it harder for me. Make it a challenge. If two fucking bumbling butts like us can, without breaking a sweat, fucking debunk the likes of Steven Crowder, please get a better pundit.
just get a better argument even. Just like anything.
Or shut up.
That too.
Or just shut the
Another
fuck
option.
up. Or the silent majority could actually just shut the fuck up. And let us live in peace.
It's ironic because you said silent majority. They're already silent. How are they going to
but
shut
they
up?
don't
Jup?
shut the fuck up. They're always like, we are the silent majority. You'll see when we go out to vote.
But like that's not even
Cancel
necessarily
culture.
true because they got crushed in the 2018 primary.
No, cancel culture is silencing the Trump supporters, but you'll see in 2020, we'll go out there and vote and we'll show you who the majority is.
I mean, even if Trump wins the next election, it's pretty. I mean, as the data shows, it's pretty likely that the Democrats are going to keep the House and win the Senate back. So, like, Trump's chances of doing anything, Trump may get impeached.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're arguing against like electoral. They're arguing for the Electoral College too, which I didn't think was something that somebody could do. Because like the whole point of the Electoral College was literally like, hey, these fucking dum-dums, they don't know enough things. So we can't let them decide on things. That was the whole point.
Yeah, public education wasn't a thing.
Yeah, sure, but like if you care about democracy.
Yeah. Well, they were scared that the average person would want another king/tyrant in power.
Yeah,
so
but now that our system is
a bit better,
almost entirely incapable of providing that. I care about democracy. Do you care about democracy, Matt?
No, not at all. But I'll pretend to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Democracy is pretty cool thing. I think Electoral College is stupid thing.
Funny enough, actually, we were in my civil discourse class, and we were actually discussing about the Electoral College, and I was actually talking to a guy who I think grew up in Jamaica or the Bahamas. I cannot remember which one, but he goes to school in Mason, obviously. And it's funny because he was actually like more pro Electoral College, because he's always seen it as like an outsider. It's just kind of like, oh, this kind of like makes sense because like the smaller states have more say. And then I explained like, well, the population distribution is not really fair And then he was like, "Oh, well, I've never really thought about it like that. I'm not really from here." And I was like, "No, that's fair.
Hmm.
I don't know how elections work in other countries, really, besides like France. You know, so
Yeah.
from an outsider's perspective, a lot of times I feel like some people are just like, "Oh, that kind of makes sense," except when the president loses the popular vote and then wins the election. Then that's when people get confused.
Yeah. How does it not make more sense just to have everybody's vote be exactly the same?
I don't know, Chief.
I don't get that. I just don't get it. And people
Well,
are like,
but the difference is we've lived in America our entire life, so we've had 19 to 20 years to like see the failures of the electoral college
yeah,
and where to succeed. Because I mean, like we don't live in France, but I imagine a lot of people have critiques about the French presidential election system, you know, that we probably wouldn't see, So it's just like an all.
I'm a big boy fan of ranked choice voting. I'm a big
Mhm.
boy fan. I think
Yeah,
that vastly it adds more weight to everybody's vote. It adds more choice, and it encourages people to vote, because right now the big fucking hullabaloo argument is we should vote third party, which right now is just not viable. Um, and then they're like, we should get it up to 5%, which, if you do that, it's just much more likely to make our dude lose, which makes Trump win, which bad. Or they're just like, I'm not going to vote because both parties are the same. So if you have ranked choice voting, and if you make third parties a much more viable option, everybody starts to be more engaged and involved in the political process, because you can't do the both parties are the same thing if there's like 10 parties.
Unfortunately, the only issue with third party, at least on a presidential level, it can work everywhere else. On a presidential level, the only issue with this is that the electoral college, the math usually doesn't work out.
Well, that's why I'm saying fuck the electoral college too.
Yeah. As of right now, third parties are not viable, but electoral college went away.
Yeah.
Just like if it just disappeared one day, no one questioned it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody would be mad.
It also gets rid of the plurality problem, right? Where like right now you don't need a majority to win; you just need a plurality in certain cases. So like with the primaries, right? Isn't that way with the primary? I'm trying to think. Basically, right? The primaries is basically like
thing.
I mean, but it's essentially the same thing with like the delegates, right? And whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't need a majority of the votes. You need the largest amount of the votes. And then the rest of the delegates get stacked on top to get you to that majority. Whereas with ranked choice voting, it would essentially be, okay, first we get to a plurality if we don't have a majority, and then we take the second choice ones and we stack those on top, and then the third choice ones and all that, until we get to someone that most people would be generally happy with. And you also take into account the last choice votes. It's a whole thing. There's a lot that goes into it. We're actually learning about it right now in my math class, but there's like a lot that goes into deciding the president or the candidate in a ranked choice voting system. But I think it's something that allows for the most freedom of choice, which, again, I don't know about you, Matt. I like freedom. Some may call me a classical liberal.
Shut the fuck up.
But I like freedom.
I think also one benefit of third parties, especially, even if they like have very little chance of winning, which even in ranked voting systems they don't have the greatest chance, is that they just bring up topics that aren't going to be covered by the major two parties a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say what you want about libertarians, right? They suck.
Oh yeah.
But they'll bring up legitimate economic concerns about how like the government is spending way too much money, or they're spending money in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And that's something that, especially the like libertarian candidate is, popular. It's something that the two major parties are going to have to address in order to at least get some votes.
And especially when you see something like the debate stage in 2016 where it was just Trump versus Hillary, like personally, I would like a wider array. Even if they're all corporate shills, maybe let's get different corporate shills. I'll take a Buttigieg over a Hillary any day.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I would like to live in a world where I could get a Buttigieg and a Hillary and a Trump and multiple mores on the stage. And a Sanders. This isn't making any sense anymore. Let's move on. Unless you have anything to add.
No, I just think it's funny because I kind of used to be not necessarily a defender of the Electoral College, but kind of just like an understander.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of just like, listen, it's the system we have. I mean, I'm still kind of like this. It's a system that we do have, so we have to play by its rules. But I used to kind of be more just like, let's just not change it. It's like, not states' rights necessarily, but like I did believe in also like the smaller states things, which I do think it is a legitimate concern for people definitely in like Wyoming, let's
But
say.
they also have representation in the Senate and in the
Yeah,
House.
so that's also kind of why it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's like okay, when you're voting for the fucking president, what does the state representation mean? I don't get that.
Mhm.
It's the president,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're voting for like senator of the House, then yeah, you have your representation in lawmaking. But when you're
Mhm.
voting for the president, shouldn't everyone's vote just count the same?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I think the electoral
Not
college
much,
is a
yeah.
very dumb thing. So yeah. Anywho.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next topic. What do we got? Dead air. Dead air.
Dead air. Protest.
Protests.
Seems like more like your place.
Protests. Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news in the protest game. So when we were preparing for the podcast, I was looking up things that happened in the past week, and I came upon a very interesting article on CNN, and then the corresponding study with the ACLED that basically says 93% of all of the protests that have happened have been peaceful. Which does not link up with the 46% of people in the United States who believe that most protests are not. Which is a huge disparity and a troubling disparity. Because it's not just that 46% believe that some are peaceful, it's most. And as we can see from the data, that's not even fucking close to true. It's not a 60-40 split. It's 93-7. Which is not good. So optics game, losing on that end. But why? That same data, that same study cites right-wing propaganda as being the reason. And you can see these studies. I'll link them in the description. But this isn't just like, right-wing propaganda bad. The study shows, the data shows, that anti-protest media, misinformation, and inflation of the violence is the reason that most people think it's most protests are bad, are violent. And I would also like to say that left wing or lefter wing things like CNN, MSNBC are not doing enough to counteract them. So right now, all we see is just a massive, organized, coordinated push by conservative media to paint protests as big protests bad. And all Joe Biden says is like, we see you, we hear you, we stand, and some dumb shit like that, which is concerning. Because we're losing. I mean, we just are. Support for BLM has dropped off massively since the George Floyd murder. It rose dramatically, but now we're lower than we were when it started. Support for Joe Biden dropping off massively. And I don't know what to do about it. Other than like scream into the air that like, dude, the facts don't back your shit up. You can feel like they're more They're more violent. You can feel like BLM is just cultural Marxism, Antifa, whatever the fuck you want to say. You can throw all these buzzwords out there, but the facts don't back it up. Even when there is violence, it's confined to one block. Most of the time, I'll drop the article, I'll drop the data sheet down below. But even when there is violence, it's confined to one block, and it was most of the time either by provocateurs or was directly caused by police intervention, and then a heightened escalation of violence. So I really just don't know what to do about the fact that we're taking fat L's in the media left and right, and no one's doing anything about it.
Excuse me. I just finished my Philly cheesesteak sub.
How was it?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good for you. Philly cheesesteaks are good.
Mm-hmm.
So what you got? What you think?
Really, now is the time for the Biden campaign. They've been doing this a little bit. They need to go hard. They just need to go after Trump on policy. That's what they need to do.
100%.
Yeah. They need to stop with the virtue signaling now.
Totally.
It doesn't seem necessary. Here's my complications with Biden. He seems more genuine than Hillary does.
Or
when Hillary was like,
for that matter. Hey.
Yeah, even them. When Biden's just like, I hear you, I see you. I kind of believe him a little bit. Part of me's just like, oh, thank you, Uncle. Thank you, little Uncle Joe. He has a charisma about him. Where he kind of, he's your
charisma?
Uncle. Or, I guess not charisma.
He definitely has that feel of like, you're just a little dummy, aren't you? You're just a little stupid boy.
A little Uncle Joe.
Yeah, you can't take him seriously, which sucks.
But Uncle Joe needs to become angry Uncle.
Yep.
Like as soon as Trump says if Trump because he kind of did this when Trump went off on Goodyear tire, and he was like Goodyear tire, radical left, some shit like that. Yeah. And then Biden was just like, no, and then they released an ad in Ohio or Michigan, where they just said, yeah, Trump just fucking insulted Goodyear. You're going to take that standing down? And then a lot of people in Michigan and Ohio were like, no, we're not. That's our company.
Yeah.
So, they just need to do a bit more of that with more policy. If Trump's just like, the economy's doing great right now. We got a lot. Look at the stock market. Biden would be like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Elections.
Exactly. Because Bernie's doing this for Biden. If you look at Bernie's Twitter, what Bernie's been talking about, Bernie is playing on the offensive.
Yeah.
Biden's playing defensive, which is fucking stupid because he's getting rocked.
I think the Biden campaign is waiting for that moment, especially in the later September where it's more memorable. That's the thing.
You're right.
Because late September, early October is kind of where the election is decided. Because this summer was terrible, politically. But that kind of doesn't matter because really it matters what happens in the fall. So, because that's when the election is. So,
but see, I think the more that the BLM protests continue and
yes,
we could argue they're going stronger or whatever, but it reflects on Biden because they've made it reflect on Biden. Mm-hmm. Like the whole fucking thing about the Biden riots, fucking hashtag Biden riot was trending on Twitter. And then the pictures of whatever Trump going to these places and going this will be Biden's America or whatever. And there was not nearly enough of a push from left-wing outlets to be like, no, you're the president. This is your America. Fix it.
And I think one thing is that Biden will definitely be able to rock Trump when it comes to, especially if his debate performance is the same as it was against Bernie's, because we know Bernie is an aggressive and generally good debater. He just didn't do so good against Biden.
Yeah, I think he played too nice in the primaries.
Yeah, he was playing a little too nice. But when Bernie during the actual primary season, like the height of the primary season before COVID. Bernie was like going out, except when he started talking about Castro.
Yeah.
Uh,
He had a point,
um,
but anyways.
but yeah, I think Biden will have to deliver that energy, and I think he will deliver that energy. Hopefully, Kamala doesn't fuck it up for him. I don't know why I chose Kamala. Kamala is more of a liability than she is an asset.
Fuck, I mean, Kamala's one step up from Klobuchar, but holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Kamala, I guess Kamala against Pence would be...
It will be funny.
Pence
It will be funny. There's nothing to say about it.
Pence is just normal SpongeBob up there.
Even though, yeah. So I think the Biden strategy just needs to be a bit. They need to start playing it more and more aggressive, especially with more disastrous trade policies. I mean, that's a legitimate reason why Trump won in 2016 is because most of the Rust Belt was like, yeah, Hillary's gonna really ship our jobs away.
Yeah.
And they took a chance with Trump, and Trump still shipped their jobs away.
Yeah, so he just needs to start firing back. He needs to go jujitsu on his ass.
Yeah.
He needs to take the Biden riots and then fire back with "This is your country."
Yeah, literally.
And they need, especially with the BLM, but it sucks because it seems like they don't really have a vested interest in protecting protesters, in validating protesters, in legitimizing protesters. It seems like they kind of want it all to just go away.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Biden did recently visit Kenosha. Or is it Kenosha? I don't know. It's Wisconsin City.
Not too sure about that. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Or he definitely plans on visiting it, nonetheless.
I don't know.
I know that's true.
About that.
But yeah, besides the point,
man, it's so fucking the fact that Trump was able to blame the problems in his early presidency on Obama, and now these on Biden, is so fucking weird.
Yeah,
and no one is calling him out on it. And by no one, like obviously, like fucking no lives like us are and people on Twitter are, but like there's no coordinated effort. And I think this is a big problem with the left in general. There aren't coordinated efforts to fight back against it because all of us are whatever,
you actually bring up with the media thing. It's interesting. So I work at the gym, right? Mm-hmm. And we have TVs at the gym, and some reason there's always like a Fox News channel playing, and I turn that shit right off.
Yeah.
But I usually have CNN playing because it's like the most unoffensive one. And it's interesting because in the morning, I actually like CNN does some like interesting stuff, but like then like midday comes and like they just like drop the ball like journalism wise. It's weird. It's kind of like almost like they don't want to see people with like their actual opinions. Yeah. CNN at least. And that's all I gotta say. It's interesting.
Rough. And we're losing the optics battle big time, and it almost makes you wonder, do they even want to win?
I think so, but they're just not. They just don't got good strategists. Well, they also know, the leftist votes is not the votes they need to secure,
and they don't want to secure.
Yeah,
which is
well, they don't even need it necessarily not want it, but they just don't like need. They know they don't need it because they know cynically that we're going to vote.
To Biden's credit, he has been working with Bernie a little bit on some of his bills. He does have a decent, like his climate change bill, very very good. I do like that. He's no Bernie, but
yeah. Better than nothing.
Better than Trump is basically, again, that's the same message we keep.
Hell, yeah, honestly, even better than Obama. Obama just did Paris treaty.
I don't think we can bully him left. I don't think you can really do that. I mean, if we could bully anyone left, it would have been Obama, and we did not bully him left. So I don't think that should be the goal here. Obviously, hey, I'm a Vosh boy. Let's not kid around. but he made a really good argument in saying that we had an Obama presidency, and then we got Bernie getting extremely close to the candidacy, right? And then we got Trump. Bernie comes in and arguably does worse than he did in 2016. And literally Trump feared a Bernie candidacy, right? Like they were begging for a Biden, but you can hear his chief strategist talk about how if Bernie won, they would have posed a serious threat to the Trump presidency.
Yeah.
So,
and that was before COVID.
Yeah. So he argues that getting in a Biden would show people that, hey, these aren't Trump problems. These aren't Republican problems. They're systematic problems.
Yeah.
Both parties are the same in that they work to enforce the system. So maybe we should change shit up. And then you get someone like Bernie closer and closer to the presidency. I mean, if we work to radicalize, like, people are already being radicalized and disenfranchised with the system. I think it's fair to say that a solid amount of people are not capitalists anymore because of everything in the past few years.
No, I wouldn't say that even closely.
A solid amount of people are disenfranchised with capitalism.
I would say more people are open to, like, socialist ideals.
Not just socialism, just disenfranchised with capitalism.
Yeah, that's different. But being disenfranchised with capitalism doesn't mean you're not capitalist.
But it makes it easier to get you to anti-capitalism, which is what I'm trying. The argument that I'm trying to make, and the argument that Vosh makes as well.
Well, I think you have to think, like, younger people, yes. And I mean, really, that's it. Young people tend to be more capitalist because it's more what you call it.
It's easier.
Yeah. But I mean, even like, because, excuse me, we're not the first generation to not like capitalism. It's there was a whole Soviet Union about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Soviet Union is actually a big reason why most people. Like, well, like, I'm not, but like, I'm also like,
yeah,
yeah. People are okay with like Scandinavian-esque like economic system where a lot of things are socialized, but they still like have an open market of some sort,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's definitely where I say I lie as well.
The argument essentially here is like we get Biden in office, right? And then we just get our asses to work. Not radicalizing him, not pushing him to the left, but pushing the voter base. So, like, pushing liberals to the left.
I see. Well, I mean, I guess it's just something we'll just have to see what happens with it.
Yeah. Because it's not like Biden, like, obviously no one's, like, up in their ass about Biden being, like, some perfect president.
Yeah.
No, like he's gonna, I mean, obviously there's fucking parasites or whatever, and then, like, Bidenists that are like, yeah, Biden's gonna be dope, but most people are disenfranchised with the system. Putting a Biden in office makes it easier to push people to the left. Putting a Trump in office again just pushes everyone further to the right because people feel like they need to make capitulations, which if Biden's in office, they don't, because we have the power. Or at least Democrats have the power.
Yeah. Especially if they also get the Senate and the House.
Yeah. So, COVID bad.
Speaking about elections.
BLM good.
Yes.
Data shows BLM good. Biden, bleh.
Mediocre.
Trump, bad.
Ooh.
So, elections.
Yeah. Some very interesting election news. There was a very highly contested Massachusetts Senate primary between Ed Markey and Joe Kennedy III, and the winner was, please,
Ed Markey! Woo!
100%.
Markey!
Oh yes, Markey won.
Ed Markey! No malarkey for Ed Markey! No
Yes, the
malarkey, Ed! No malarkey, Ed! Malarkey! Ed Markey.
it was a 55-45 vote. Kennedy getting 45 of the votes. Markey getting 55. I think it just proves that
Fuck the Kennedys.
That also just proves that these really like corporatist Democrats are not getting popular anymore, or not as popular, and you can't win by just carrying a name, as we saw in 2016.
I mean, the squad took big fucking dubs.
Yeah.
You know the squad, right?
Yes.
They took huge fucking dubs. Qasim Rashid, in our district, looking good. His support's looking really nice, and he's firing on all cylinders against what's his face, Rob Whitman, who's kind of a slimy little weasel.
Yo.
But yeah, I mean, progressives, it's looking up for us.
Yeah, I think this will definitely be a progressive year for Democrats and progressive candidates.
I hope so. I mean, that's what I feel like. Senate and House, the midterms, the primaries, this stuff is overlooked a lot, and everyone always talks about this. It's overlooked, but it's so incredibly important. What's the use of having a Sanders if Mitch McConnell is still in charge of the Senate?
Yeah.
Or if Nancy Pelosi is still in charge of the House? There's no fucking point.
I wonder who's going to become the Senate president if the Democrats win.
Yeah, I don't know. But I
it's
mean,
it's the oldest serving Democrat, but I don't remember who.
Let's say we did. Let's say we did get Bernie Sanders, right? Then you said it was the oldest serving Democrat.
Well, like the person who's served in the Senate longest as a Democrat, it's some random dude I've never heard.
I feel like even if we did get a Sanders, he would just be fighting with the Senate, be fighting with the House. Because Pelosi don't like him. You know Pelosi don't like his ass.
Nah.
And the Senate right now is majority Republican, if I'm not tripping. It's like 50. It's like 51-49, right?
It's something real close, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he would have a tough time getting things done.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which he always has. His whole career, he's had a tough time getting things done. And that's not to impugn Sanders. Sanders is a sweet, sweet old boy. Great man. But it just shows that we have an uphill battle to fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I just think we need to work twice as hard. Conservatives are organized and coordinated. They got that shit on lock. They have like 3 or 4 fucking talking points that they pull out of their back. Black guy dies. He stole candy bar from 7-Eleven. So
bad guy.
COVID-19. Masks were used in slavery. So
we're slaves.
Yeah. They got all this shit on lock. And then the left, on the other hand, Biden presidency, I could not vote. I could vote third party. I could try to push Biden left. It's all this fucking shit.
The biggest issue with, especially when it comes to elections, is we really hate making allies sometimes. We don't like to capitulate some of our shits. Totally. Especially the more further you go left, the harder it is for them to be allies with the more moderates leftists.
I would say the further you go left and up.
Yeah.
The further you get into that red zone.
Yeah, the further the more extreme of the left tends to not want to be allied with the more moderates of the left, and even vice versa.
Yeah.
So we never can get our shit. And you know what? A libertarian may not like Trump that much, but they know, in their opinion, it would be leagues better than getting like a Sanders in office. Or at least that's what they think.
Yeah, because that's what they've been led to believe. Is that libertarianism. American libertarianism is just conservatism. Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
maybe not necessarily the Libertarian Party, but if someone classifies himself as a libertarian, they're most likely just a conservative.
Yeah.
Um,
We knew a guy like that.
we knew many guys like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Did we? I only knew one.
I definitely know many.
Oh.
I do know many. I'm thinking of all of them right now. But yeah, it sucks because the optics game is definitely not in our favor at
Yeah.
all, and we do need to work twice as hard, and we do need to be twice as smart. But we're not. As a collective, as a monolith or whatever, we're just not.
It's ironic because we're like supposed to be more collectivism, but we suck at being collective.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you see? There's. Did you see that? The. I don't know where I'm going with this. We're cutting that out.
So some bad news, because I mean the ed market thing is definitely good news. Bad news. I say bad news, but I'm not really shocked by this. Biden's election chances are tightening up. I think we all expected this. I don't think this is a shock. You know,
No.
he was riding a real high in like mid to late July. Now he's coming off that high.
Coincidentally, it all falls in line with BLM support. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean the convention boosts definitely don't help. I mean, like this is definitely like marked down from starting from the RNC. So, and I think also protest fatigue is definitely taken into account because people don't. After a little bit, people stop caring, and that's just that's how a lot of things
That's
work.
the way it
Generally
works.
speaking,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just how human interest work. But whilst I'm not like shocked by this, I don't think it's necessarily a danger sign for the Biden campaign. Maybe they just need to try a bit harder.
Yeah. To say the least.
He's still outperforming because I also heard this argument that it's like, oh, there's still like a silent Trump vote because this Bloomberg company came out and was just like, oh, 10% of Republicans still wouldn't say who they actually would vote for president in pollsters. And even if you take account in that, like, I mean, just like Hillary was only up at this point like 4%. Biden is still up nearly 8%. So even if you count for that, I think Biden would still win narrowly, but he would win. Even if you factor in the margin of error. So I don't know. That almost seems a little bit like fear mongering, but maybe we need to get that fear mongering out there to, drive up enthusiasm.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah, it's nothing shocking, but I mean, I'm keeping up with it. The projections. It's interesting to look at, but nothing too shocking. The Trump campaign is definitely not making the right moves, though, because this is definitely a time where the Trump campaign can play offensively. Because for a while, they've actually been playing defensively, which is definitely the smart thing for them, because everything has gone to shit. So it's weird that the Trump campaign's not playing really offensively. I mean, the only offensive thing they say, Biden is a puppet of the radical left.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even land with a lot of the voters, because most people know Joe Biden and they know that he's not that left leaning, at least not comparatively.
It seems like Biden's campaign strategy is to say that he's not Trump, and then Trump's campaign strategy is to say everything is Biden.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah. I actually watched. I think that's mostly correct. I watched a video from a Canadian political analyst, and he mentioned. Oh, I think it was. I don't remember what year Michael Dukakis ran. I think it may have been 1968. But there was a presidential candidate, Michael Dukakis. He was from. I think he was running against Nixon, and basically what Nixon did is, because Dukakis was not very well known, Nixon was just like, yeah, Dukakis is a fucking socialist who kills babies.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was H.W. Bush. One of those two. It was like, he's a socialist. He's a socialist who kills babies. Don't vote for him. And it worked. And Trump's kind of trying to do a similar thing. Like, oh, Biden's a socialist. He'll destroy America. Don't do it.
Yeah.
The difference is people didn't know who Michael Dukakis was. People know who Joe Biden is. He was vice president for 8 goddamn years. So that strategy is probably not going to work as successfully because we all know who Biden is. We know he's not that left-leaning. So trying to say he's a puppet of the radical left is just not the best strategy for Trump.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because Trump can't play outsider anymore because he's been president. He can't just say, oh, I'll cancel the trade deals. Like, he's had 4 years to do it. Why didn't he do it? So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think the more he starts shouting "drain the swamp," people will realize he is the swamp. Like you've had 4 years, dude. Yeah. Is the swamp not drained?
He's motherfucking Shrek up in there.
Get out, me swamp. when people start investigating him, get out, me swamp.
So, I don't know. I don't think any outcome right now will shock me personally. If Trump landslides, I think that'll shock me a little bit. But like, if like Trump or Biden landslides, it'll be a little shocking, horribly shocking. If Trump wins, I won't be shocked. If Biden wins, I won't be shocked. If it's tied, hell, I won't be shocked. If it ties, then Biden wins because the House would elect him.
Biden, baby.
So, yeah, it's
this is sad episode again.
Yeah.
The least rhetorically efficient episode. Anyways, let's get to our last segment. Hey, Matt.
Yep. What have you been doing?
You saying it this time.
Yes, I know.
Hooray. Like I said, I've been doing college. College is fun. Let me go get my book, actually. Hold on.
This man has literature. Wow. He has big brain. He's got a big head. And no, I'm not talking about his head. You know, that's going to take 200 IQ to get that joke.
This is a book I've been reading. I think it's backwards on the screen. It's called Percussions of History by Juptej Singh. It's very interesting so far. I've only read like a couple of chapters, but I'm super into it. Talking about the sort of like the beginnings of the Sikh movement and how like genuinely revolutionary it was. And something really interesting that I think it talks about is in Western discussions of religion, right? Religion is often antithetical to the idea of revolution. You know what I mean? So like Christianity. It's weird to think that Christianity could be revolutionary because Christianity is the status quo type of thing, right? And just generally with revolutions, like the religion is seen to be as the conservative side, and then the revolution is seen to fight against that, sort of more secular in nature. But this book talks about is that Sikhi, when it first started rising up, and even I mean obviously even still now, like, is revolutionary in sentiment, in practice. Within, it's so hard to like actually put into words, but Sikhi in and of itself is a revolution, which is weird to think about with the Western ideas of religion. But the more I read this book, the more I will be able to explain that.
Sounds interesting.
Like something like the caste system, right?
Yeah.
Sikhi came about 500 years ago. The caste system was so incredibly ingrained in their culture, more so than it is now. A very strict hierarchical system that's entirely social in nature and also enforced through laws. And then here comes about Sikhi saying, yo, what?
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo, Nah.
And that
Uh,
man's speaking true facts.
as I paraphrase. Um, but driving home this idea and putting into practice the idea that we are all on the same level, and not just like speaking about that, but there's this one story that comes to mind where um the big boy king, right, came to eat in the guru's court, um and the way that the practice of like langar within Sikhi, right? It's the idea of people promote it as like free food, which I guess yeah it is. But it's the idea that we all eat on the same level because we are all on the same level. So the king comes expecting to be seated on like a table, chairs, whatever, be given the king treatment, and they're basically like, nope, take a seat on the floor like everyone else. Um, and that idea seems sort of arbitrary, but at that time, and it still continues to be, it was revolutionary. It was huge to make this dude just sit down and start munching,
Start
um,
munching.
and eat the same food that everybody else was given, including like the quote unquote like untouchables around him and stuff. I'm not doing a good job of articulating it, but hopefully as I read the book more, um, I'll be able to put into words how Sikhi is not only not antithetical to revolutionary sentiments, but revolution is ingrained in Sikh doctrine.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to learn more and talk about that in the future. I also watched Moonlight last night.
Oh yeah.
Moonlight was a very, very, very good movie. Have you seen it?
No.
It's amazing. My only gripe with it is that I had trouble feeling emotionally connected. For whatever reason, and I talked about this with some of my friends about what the possible reasons could be. I don't know. But it is in every sense an amazing movie that you should watch. And I also started watching Ben 10.
The wholesome bit
Yeah.
for last.
I watched the first episode of Ben 10. It's so fucking good, dude. Ben 10 is so fucking dope. He has his little watch. And
Got a little watch.
he turns into aliens. It's fucking sick. What have you been doing, Matt?
Not much really besides school and applying for intern. I've been a bit busy, especially with work. I've been a lot.
You haven't been watching anything? Haven't been playing anything? Keeping up with anything?
I mean, like besides like whatever's on my YouTube feed, honestly.
What has been on your YouTube feed? I've been watching what's his face? Some More News. Do you know about that?
No.
Some More News, Cody Johnston. Very, very, very informative stuff. And I also started watching a little bit of Thought Slime. Both are bread tubers. What have you been watching on YouTube, Matt?
I guess a lot of like election update stuff and just my general news cycle, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like a lot of. I have been watching Cody Co again with that as well. That shit's funny.
Is Cody Co good? I haven't actually seen. What kind of content does Cody Co make? Video essays?
No, commentary-esque stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. In my opinion, he's funnier with a person than on his own, but he does make good content on his own. Yeah. So, yeah, if you especially want a good introduction of him, watch his Cringe series.
His Cringe series?
No, That's Cringe with Noel Miller.
Gotcha.
Very funny, very classic.
I will do that.
But yeah, I haven't really been watching / reading anything besides like my homeworks, which aren't that interesting, to be honest. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the end here.
I guess that's the end here. That's all she wrote. Am I right?
Yeah.
Once again, a very depressing episode. Very rambly episode. I feel like we rambled a lot of this one, huh?
I'm a bit tired, so let me explain that honestly.
Yeah, sorry to our listeners for listening to this. Right? The worst episode, if you will. This is the worst episode. Let's wrap this bitch up. Thank you all for watching / listening to the Zero Budget podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. All that shit will be down below. We'll drop our fucking sources for the BLM shit, so none of the conservatives that don't watch us can come at us. And that's everything. So thank you everybody for listening. A goodbye.